I've called at least one other episode in this podcast an odd duck. I think this may be a much even odder duck. The theme is ruminations, I guess, on the 5th birthday of the Vulnerability in Life and Art podcast. Welcome to episode 134 of Vulnerability in Life and Art. I decided to take this opportunity to do a personal episode. I try to hold those to the 5th and the 10th episodes as we go along, but sometimes either because, to be frank, because I need to catch up and it's less time intensive to create a personal episode, I might choose to do that. Sometimes it's because I have something I really want to say. And in this case, it's probably both. So it's titled 5 Years On because 2 weeks ago was the 5th anniversary of Vulnerability in Life and Art. I've been doing this now for 5 years with the wonderful interactions and conversations I've had with so many generous people over the last 5 years. And so I had wanted to commemorate that, and I meant to release this episode 2 weeks ago on May 3rd, which was the actual date of inception, the day 5 years ago that I released the first real episode with Amanda Marchand, episode 1. And I didn't get it done. And in fact, as of now, I'm 2 episodes behind. I was 3. I released one earlier this week, a few days ago with Colin, conversation with a wonderful young man named Colin Douglas. And now I'm going to release this one, which puts me only 1 behind, which if I can get it done in the next week and the next one done in the next week, I will have caught up again. But the question is, caught up with what? Because there is no schedule imposed by anyone but myself. And so why do I always feel compelled to catch up to an average of releasing an episode every 2 weeks is a question that I continue to grapple with because it is a source of some pressure that I put on myself to do that. And I'm not sure anybody really minds when episodes come out other than me. So I said there were 2 reasons for a personal episode. One is because of something I want to say. And so I just want to note the fact and not celebrate, but just recognize that this is a project that I've committed to for the last 5 years. And the other reason when I do personal episodes is to catch up, and I have been behind. And those things are in some way related this time, and I may be rabbit holey more than usual because I'm not sure I've really figured all of this out yet. And I've realized for myself, my best shot at figuring things out is to talk about them. And so I'm going to try to talk through it here today in this episode. But I'm proud and surprised that this project has continued on for 5 years because I have the kind of personality. I'm like a gadfly. I'm like a crow. I'm obsessed with the next shiny thing. I have ideas. I start them. I get excited about the next new idea, and I don't always follow through on the previous ones. But somehow, for some reason, this podcast has stuck. And I have been asked in the past, how much longer could this go on? Or have you not figured out what vulnerability is all about yet? And I don't think I have. I think vulnerability is such an interesting topic to talk about with every single person. Every single person I've spoken to has brought a new perspective or a new way to think about what vulnerability might mean, or what it might bring to us, or what the risks are, or what benefits it might have. But the fact that I was 3 episodes behind speaks to, aside from the arbitrariness of that schedule that is imposed by me, is that my professional life, at least, is very topsy-turvy at the moment. I pretty much have had my professional career of 27, 28 years effectively chomped by AI in the way that I've done it up till now. So let's say in the last 27 years, there's a type of work that I've been doing, and it's putting together courses and workshops for a whole range of clients. And I didn't expect that work to change as fast as it did. I mean, everybody saw AI coming. It was impossible not to see it coming. But I still didn't anticipate how fast it would change the way I do my work. And the relationship really between my work and the podcast is that I am a consultant that works from home, and I had enough flexibility really in my timing, my schedule, to be able to devote to doing the podcast. And to be honest, I was able to make money to support myself to do the podcast, because the podcast obviously doesn't make any money at all. And I'm completely fine with that. I think that's part of what the podcast is all about. But the pressure now of not having that, I mean, it means lots of different things, obviously, to a person when they lose their career. So, and of course, the exciting thing is, where do you move from here? Where do you pivot to? What are the opportunities? There's definitely a positive way to come out of this. But the recognition, the awareness that for the moment, things have changed drastically enough that I am going to really have to focus on how to support myself in new ways. And so it's not even that I've been devoting so much time to that. I actually devoted a lot of time to panicking. I've been in a panic for a few weeks now. And now things are calming down, and I recognize that I need to put myself in the mindset of looking for the new opportunities which changes like this bring. That's a great part of change, is that new things come up, and you just have to be looking for them and be ready and pivot to them. And pivot is such a corporate word. I guess I may be more corporate than I realize, but effectively there are new things coming, and we need to be open to, or I need to be open to them, I'll say. But practically speaking, it throws like a stick in my spoke as far as having the energy and the money, essentially, to allow myself the time to devote to a project that doesn't make money so that I can continue to support myself. And so the challenge at this stage of the game is, so do I continue with the podcast? Is it realistic to continue the podcast? What does it mean to put the time and energy into the podcast that possibly I should be putting into the more practical parts of paying my mortgage and buying my food and all those kinds of things? And I might have been kind of joking about that a few months ago, but I'm not joking about it so much anymore. And it's not dire. There's nothing dire about it at all. I'm fine, and I know I will figure it out. And I need to decide, do I keep putting time and energy into something like this? And for all the projects that I've started and not continued, for all of the ideas I've had that I didn't follow through on, I mean, I have butcher paper lined out, rolled out on my dining room table with a million ideas. It's completely insane. And I wish I was doing every single one of them, but apparently I probably won't get to them in time, before time for me ends. But I don't want to give this up. I don't always know what other people are getting from the conversations who are listening. It's hard to know. I get some feedback, but I mean, I would love to get more feedback. I would love to know, not because it is what the value is in the sense that without it, I wouldn't continue. Because there's some selfish sense in which this is meaningful to me as a project, because I learn so much from these conversations. And things only make sense to me. I realize it's coming to me quite late in life, actually, that I realize that I best make sense of things when I talk about them with people, or when I listen to people. And really, actually, the interaction. So the conversation, the questions and answers, and insights and ahas, and, oh, I didn't even realize I thought that until it came out of my mouth. And somebody else will say they didn't realize that until they started talking about it, and it took them down the path of realizing something they weren't even aware of. So There's a lot of moving parts to this episode. I apologize for that if it's a little bit squirrely, but there's just seems to be so much going on right now. And it can't be just me. It can't be. Where things are changing really fast and we're looking for our place and trying to be really insightful about what we want to hold on to and what we're willing to give up or what we want to give away. And as far as my career, I'm thinking about that. I have ideas ranging from sort of slight variations on what I do already all the way over to the other side of the spectrum, like studying motorcycle mechanics and opening a motorcycle cafe. That's how broad the range is. It's could be just about anything. But the essential question with relation to this episode is, no matter what happens, will I continue doing this podcast? Yes, I will. Because I gain so much from it, and I have to kind of hope on some level that other people are also gaining from it. Could be completely different from what I am learning, and that the people I speak to are getting some value from it, because that I have heard more of. And so I know that it's helpful to make a space for other people to have some of these conversations that are not everyday conversations. It's not every day that we have even the opportunity or somebody interested in listening to us talk about what makes us feel vulnerable, what that means, why that's a good thing. It's not necessarily something to be overcome. And what does it look like when we move through the moment and share that? And the more specific the stories are, the more I realize that it's kind of the same experience for everybody in a way. But I think that vulnerability really is a shared human experience, even in the details, even when the details are completely different from situation to situation to situation. And I won't get on a soapbox here, but AI doesn't have any experience of vulnerability. And so what it can do is trawl through the interweb and pull together something that gives a semblance of an understanding or an explanation of vulnerability. But generally speaking, as far as emotional experiences overall are concerned, if AI ever did, I'm going off on a total tangent here, but if AI ever did develop emotions, they would be fundamentally different than the emotional experiences of human beings, because they would arrive at them in their own interactions in the world. So I'm going to get off AI because it's definitely not my area of expertise. But I'll close on the celebration. So the celebration of 5 years of conversations with exceptional people to whom I am just so, so grateful for time to take spend an hour with a stranger talking about what makes them feel vulnerable is the most incredible gift that I could possibly have asked for. And I've just been so amazed with how generous people are. So, as always, thank you for listening. I, as always, love to invite feedback, but no pressure. Only if there's something that you felt touched you in what I shared and it was relevant or somehow picked at something for you that might give you something further to think about or do something about. And onwards and upwards, on to episode 135 coming out soon.